Hey guys, welcome to the solutions video for Selective Prep Mathematics, test number 40. Let's get straight into an overview. So we're going to be looking at two different topics today before we get started. The first is going to be algebra. So in terms of algebra, we're going to be looking at replacing words with letters, and this is to save time. Because for example, there are a couple of questions that, there are quite a few questions that make you come up with, for example, that include names or animals that make you repeat those names or animals when you're doing calculations. So for example, you can see there's a question in the slide where Alex earned $3, David earned $5. If you had to repeat those two names over and over again when you're writing, so Alex equals 3, David equals $5, then that'd take a lot of time. So the key concept here is just to replace the name with a letter. So A equals 3, D equals 5, saves you a lot of time. Note to you guys that names can start with the same letter sometimes, so make sure you don't get confused. For example, if you have Alex, Andrea, don't write an A, right? Because they represent the same thing. Or they're the same letter, but they represent different things, and so you could get confused. So write the first two letters, write the first three letters, whatever you need to make sure that you don't get confused. In terms of percentages, so I've done a little bit marking here by accident. So if you've been with us before, you've seen this slide like 100 times already. If not, the whole point of this slide is to make sure that you don't repeat calculations, or you don't take any unnecessary steps if you don't have to, right? So if you receive a 40% discount in this question, if you receive a 40% discount on a $100 pair of shoes, don't calculate what that discount is. You don't need to know what it is. So all you need to do is calculate, okay, I receive a 40% discount. The final price then should be 60% of the original, right? 60% of $100 equals $60. Calculating the discount doesn't seem like a big issue in this question, but let's say this hadn't been $100. Let's say it was $3,465. Okay, then calculating the discount and then having to subtract it from the original would be a lot more difficult in that situation, instead of just calculating what the final percentage is. So, question one, we have a problem-solving question where we have different letters. Each of those letters represent one number. There can't be any overlap in what letter represents what. So we know x equals 3, we don't know anything else. Okay, these numbers are from 0 to 9. We know x equals 3, which means that if we look at this column here, okay, O plus O equals x, which is 3. So O plus O must equal 1 plus 1. So O has to equal 1. And then all we can do is assume that a 1 was carried on from the, carried over from the row on the right of it. Okay, which means that O plus U has to equal 10 or above. But because O equals 1, that means the max this can equal is 11. So it's either 10 or 11. If U is 9, okay, then it can be 10, so 1 plus 9 equals 10, and then if a 1 was carried over from the row onto the right of it, then it's going to be 11, okay? But if it's a 10, then I is going to be 0. If it's an 11, I is going to be 1, so it can't be 11, because 1 was already used up by our O. So O is 1, I cannot also be 1, so our I has to equal 10, okay, or it has to be represented by 0, and a 1 gets carried over. Okay, so that was our deal at the start. So O plus U equals 9, which means that I has to equal 0. But the issue is, the issue now is that R also has to equal 0. Why? Because R plus T equals T, which means that R has to have 0 value. Otherwise, T, when you add it to T, you get a different number, right? So T plus 0 equals T. T plus anything else does not equal T. So R has to equal 0, but I is already a 0. So that's where we run into a wall. So it can't, this sequence just doesn't work at all. No matter what any of these values are, this sequence does not work because there has to be a repetition, which means that E is none of these. Now, question 2. We have a company, 6,000 employees, 47% are female, which means that 53% are male. So let's break this up into 50% and 3% to make it, 3% to make it easier to calculate. So 50%, you should be able to do this mentally, 3,000, and then 3% is 6,000 times 3%, which is 6,000 times 0.03. So 6,000 can be broken down into 6 times 1,000 times 0.03. And if I multiply the 1,000 with the 0.03 first, that's going to give me 6 times 30, which equals 180. So 3% is 180, 50% is 3,000, so 53% is 3,180. Now, a counting question, we have a book. So if you have seen many books, I have seen many books, most of the time if you have a starting few pages or like an epilogue or whatever you have at the start, then it'll be on like this left hand side. There'll be a bunch of pages at the start, and then just before the first page you'll have the left hand side covered up by something else, or like introducing something else, and then the actual story or the bibliography or whatever you're reading starts with page 1 on the right. Okay, so every page after that is going to be odd number at the front, and then the consecutive even number at the back. So 1, 2, or 3, 4, or 5, 6, 7, 8. And the odd number is always going to be smaller. Okay, so using that, we know 4 is a separate page from 6. 6 and 7 are 2 separate pages on their own. Okay, because the odd number has to be smaller. 19 and 20 are actually together. So that's your 5th page there. That's your 4th page there. 21 is separate, so that's your 5th page. 42 and 43 are separate, so 6 and 7. Because 42 is the even number, the odd number should be at the front. Okay, so they're not on the same page. So you have 7 different pages, which is part D. Now, question 4, algebra. We have 3 dogs plus 2 puppies equals 32. 4 dogs plus 3 puppies equals 44. So 1 dog plus 1 puppy should equal 12, right? Because between these two, okay, there's a 1 dog, 1 puppy difference, and the weight difference is 12 kilograms. So 1 dog plus 1 puppy equals 12. And let's see if we can just try and guess and check this. So let's say D equals 8, puppy equals 4. Okay, weighs double. Now that adds up to 12. Let's see if these values make sense in any of the other equations that we have. So 3 times D, so 3 times 8 equals 24, plus 2 times P, so 8. So 24 plus 8 equals 32. Hence, D and P are the right values. It works. So what's 2D plus 1P? It's going to be 16 plus 4, which is 20, which is E. Now, question 5, we have an addition question. So Joseph works for 4 4/5 of an hour. 1/5 is 12 minutes. So 1/5 of 60 minutes is 12 minutes. So 4 hours plus 4/5. So it's going to be 4 times 12. So 48 minutes plus 6 hours and then plus 45 minutes. So it's 3/4 of an hour is 45 minutes. So that's going to be 10 hours plus 93 minutes. So 93 minutes is 1 hour and 33 minutes. So in total, it's going to be 11 hours plus 33 minutes. Now, 33 minutes is either going to be 11 on 20 or 11 and 1/6, because that's the only options with 11 and 11 at the start. Everything else is 10. So 33 minutes. Let's try checking C first. 1/20th is 3 minutes. So 60 divided by 20 is 3 times 11 equals 33. So is it correct? Yes. So it should be 11 on and 11 over 20 hours. Now, percentages. So multicultural night was 12%, Christmas card sale was 15%, and the total raise was $1,280 this year. So total equals 1,280, and then 27% is what we're looking at. So that's how much was raised from these 2 separate events. And what we want to do is 1,280 is pretty hard to work with. So instead of 1,280, let's try 1,300. We're just rounding it up just a little bit. It's an estimate, but it'll speed things up, and it doesn't make too much of a difference in our final answer. So 1,300 times 27% will be the same as 1,300 times 0.27. So if I split this up again into 13 times 100 times 0.27, it's going to be the same as 13 times 27, because 100 times 0.27 just gives you 27. So quick maths here. So 3 times 7 is 21, 3 times 2 plus 2 is 8, 1 times 7 is 7, 1 times 2 is 2, so 1, 5, 3. So the 1 carries over. And so 351, we want an answer that's a little bit smaller than this because we rounded up. And so our actual, that's our estimate, but our actual answer is going to be a bit smaller. The only answer we get is B here. So question 7, if the amount raised from the scarf sale next year was 10% more than the amount raised this year, so how much did they raise this year? 25%. of 1 to 80. So 25% is 1/4. So divided by 4 should give you 320. 10% more than 320. So what's 10% of 320? 32. And then 320 plus 32 is going to be 253. So 352 is our correct answer. Question 8 is a percentages question. 13.7% of the 500 seedlings died. So how many lived? It's going to be 86.3%. Okay, now if we had 1,000 seedlings, 863 seedlings would have survived, but we have half of that, so half of them are going to survive. So half of 863 is 431.5, which is part B. So we want to kind of utilize these bigger, easier to work with numbers, and try and manipulate our way without having to calculate everything out. Well, we can just do things like divide by 2 or divide by like a small number to get the answer we want. Otherwise, it might take a bit longer. Question 9. So we have a multiplication question here. So something times 46 equals 4,000 something and 78. Okay, so something times 6 equals 8. So that could be either it could be 8 or it could also be 3. Now, the only two options where either of those numbers come out is A and D. Otherwise, it has to be E, okay, if that doesn't work. So A is saying 93 is AB, and D is saying 93 is AB. So that's good. We can kill two birds with one stone. So 93 times 46, let's see what we get for that. And if the C value works for any of these. So 6 times 3 is 8. Which is what we wanted, which is good. 6 times 9 is 54. Sorry, we had to carry a 1 over before, so it would be 55, actually. 4 times 3 is 12, carry 1 over. 4 times 9 is 36. 37 gives you 8, 7, 2, and then a 4 here. So 4, 2, 7, 8. So you should have gotten A is 9, A, B is 3, and C is 2, so that should give you part D. I think this is our final question. Question 10. Clothing shop advertises buy one, get one at half price. For this offer, the average cost per item is the same as. So you should get X and then half X. And so 3 over 2x and so the average price, so for example, if we had x plus half x, the average is you add them and then divide it by the number of values that you had. So x plus half x is 3 over 2x, okay, and divide it by 2 because we bought 2 items, right? So divide it by 2, that should give you 3 over 4x, okay? So it's the same as buying 4 items for the price of 3. So it's 3/4 of the price. So if we had bought 4 items, okay, if we buy 4 items, then it's going to be 3 over 4x times 3, times 4, okay, which is going to be equal to 3x. So it's 4 items at the price of 3x. So it should be 4 items for the price of 3. So thank you everybody for tuning in for that video. The key points from that test were the algebra, so switching names or words for letters to save time, and then our typical percentages slide, which was find the final percentage, don't find like the percentages in the middle, which we saw with like that school fundraiser question we had in like question 10, like 9 or 8. So that saved a bit of time for us as well. So that was a bit of a hectic video. My apologies for that. I will see you in the next video, guys. Please stay safe and relax a little bit in your holidays. Don't work too hard. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video.